Today's podcast includes commentary from a guest speaker. Neither the RIA Compliance Collective nor RIA Compliance Concepts is affiliated with the speaker or the company he or she represents.
Whether your advisory firm has 1 or 5 people, compliance will always be an issue. RIA Compliance Concepts is more than just another service provider. We truly care about seeing our clients prosper. That's why we started our podcast, the RIA Compliance Collective, providing up-to-date compliance guidance. We're passionate about doing our job so you can focus on doing your job. We understand regulatory compliance like the back of our hands, from full-service RIA registration to annual compliance reviews and everything in between. We're here to get you there.
Hello, everyone. This is the RIA Compliance Collective, and I'm Megan Campbell. Co-hosting with me today is my friend and colleague, Colin O'Brien. Colin, how are you doing today?
Excellent, Megan. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. We're recording this about a week out from Thanksgiving, and I'm completely unprepared for the holiday season. So
Feeling kind of turkey.
Yeah. But other than that, pretty good. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. As most of you may know, Colin and I are compliance consultants, and as such, we either see firms and IARs with some sort of tie to the insurance industry or those that want to avoid it at all costs due to the conflicts and compliance restraints that may come with it. Isn't that right, Colin?
That's right, Megan. There's a lot of advisors out there that kind of want to steer clear of the insurance thing because of just the unknown factor to try to change their business model. And that's what we need to do, is build up that confidence. So
exactly. Yeah. We see people coming straight from the insurance industry itself, or those coming from maybe a traditional broker-dealer model. And then we have the new people, the people that are starting out as new financial planners, and they want to offer, variety solutions for their clients. But people in the investment advisory business may want to pay attention and not try to avoid this risk mitigation part of their business to provide for their clients. As RIAs, your clients will probably have questions about risk management and how or what kind of insurance products may help them. There's also the flip side, the compliance side of being an RIA and a fiduciary and offering those insurance products to clients. And like much of the things in the financial service industry these days, times they are a changin. That includes the insurance side of the business. And to help us understand how this industry is evolving, we've brought in Matt Meyer to talk with us today. Matt currently serves as founder and managing partner of the Blueprint Insurance Services, a partner of a leading life insurance and annuity marketing company in the country, AimcoR Group. Matt specializes in working with financial advisors on complex estate and business planning issues. He takes a holistic planning approach and prides himself on speaking the same language as RIAs and comprehensive financial advisors. He's able to do so because he's been in the insurance and financial services business for the last 2 decades. He's gained extensive experience consulting large organizations on their employee benefits programs. He's also assisted high net worth families in the estate planning process and provides overall guidance to advisors, CPAs, and estate planning attorneys. Matt works with advisors and clients to structure and model transactions, general financial strategies, as well as to examine the short and long-term products utilized for risk mitigation. Thanks for joining us today, Matt.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Colin. That was quite an introduction, very long, but thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're super excited to talk about this because before we started recording this, we were going on and on about how this industry is really, really evolving, and so happy to have you here today. To start off, can you tell us more about the Blueprint Insurance Services?
Yeah, so the Blueprint is a culmination of really 2 decades of insurance work on my side, and recognizing where I started really working for an LPL advisor actually back in college. And one of the areas that I identified with him was that this comprehensive approach with his clients was not really there at that time. And by going and gaining experience and understanding how the insurance distribution model works, how insurance products integrate into the overall financial picture for various clients, the Blueprint really kind of became what it is today, which is this laser-focused approach on providing an insurance platform for RIAs and IARs. our objective with the blueprint really is to understand and speak the language of the RIA, understand the new model and how they're working with their clients, especially in the independent space, and to help them increase their revenues and build enterprise value, but most importantly, to provide a comprehensive client experience. So that's really the focus of the blueprint and where it came from 2 decades worth of insurance work from my side.
Well, how does a blueprint and RIAs create a comprehensive client experience?
Well, we've identified a process that we believe kind of starts from really understanding, first of all, the RIA or the advisor specifically in their business. I provide a customized discovery document prior to meeting with a financial advisor and or a firm. And the document is really designed to better understand kind of the psychology of how they interact with their clients and what their clients look like. So if I'm working with an advisor that primarily works with retirement planning clients, my objective is going to be customized to make sure that we're addressing the things that are relevant to him. I think one thing that we get to in the insurance business specifically is that we have this objective to kind of tell an advisor how many products we have and how much we can solve all these problems, but we actually don't really understand what the problems might be day to day for them or their clients. And I think that disconnect often leads to a disruption on understanding really what we're trying to solve, and we make that too complex sometimes. So it really starts with the client and understanding the interaction that they have with the advisor, and then being able to provide the resources that we have with the insurance companies and with my firm to provide this laser-focused approach on providing the right solutions to those clients that make it more comprehensive.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different aspects towards that RIAs have to address. Do you think working with Blueprint will address the fiduciary responsibilities for an advisor?
I think through this comprehensive approach, we're naturally kind of addressing these fiduciary responsibilities, depending on how you really look at it. And I know from your perspective on the compliance side, one of the areas that I try to focus on is even if you're not providing the product solutions, are we having the conversations and are we able to document that we're having those conversations? One of the areas, and especially in today's marketplace, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, is the long-term care planning. And we feel that it's the advisor's fiduciary responsibility to at least have the conversation is, do you have a plan? It doesn't have anything to do with insurance. It just means that we're talking about the long-term care planning aspect of a client's plan in the future. And if the advisor who is managing, maybe doing their estate plan, their financial plan, isn't having these conversations, we feel that there's a conflict there from a fiduciary responsibility. So one of the areas that we've focused on, and this even goes back to some of the Department of Labor focus on providing best interest contracts, we prepared ourselves by utilizing some third-party tools and some proprietary software to kind of expand the marketplace and the way that we're looking at particular products, meaning we can show the entire marketplace why we would select a product, the reason that we got there, what's the forward-looking projection of these products that we're looking at, and make sure that we're documenting that in a very comprehensive way, not to overuse that term, but in a very comprehensive way for the advisor. And that's whether he's actually providing the solution or not, he's at least having the conversations and noting his file, which addresses, we believe, his fiduciary responsibilities.
A holistic approach.
A holistic approach.
Now for a short break.
The Blueprint Insurance Services mission is to be the premier insurance partner for RIAs and comprehensive financial advisors. To learn more about the Blueprint Insurance Services, visit www.tblueprint.com.
And now, back to the podcast.
So how do you help advisors integrate insurance and risk management into the planning process?
So one of the areas that we identified, to use these nice marketing terms, is the success pyramid. And the success pyramid is, as I mentioned before, we first have to understand their business. And then once we understand their business, we're able to integrate and nurture the relationship ongoing. But one of the areas that we have found to be very effective is providing what we call a comprehensive client conversation approach. And that means starting from a very high level for an advisor, these are the conversations that we're having with clients that are 55 to 70 years old. That may include estate planning, family protection, business succession planning, long-term care planning. So each one of those areas is something that we'll provide one-page documents on what questions to ask and generally what does the market look like. So one of the areas, again, as I mentioned, that we feel that the insurance space can be complicated. There's lots of moving parts. There's lots of products. There are a tremendous amount of different solutions that are being pushed out there in the marketplace all the time. And that's a lot of noise to an advisor where the insurance specifically isn't his core business. So we've tried to distill all the noise in the marketplace and make it very simple to have these client conversations. And by supporting this, we can go into their actual book of business once we are able to establish that trust and that partnership and actually take their clients out that fit this profile and say, these are the conversations that we need to start having with these clients. Whether we're soliciting or looking at a product solution is secondary. It's really having the conversation pieces. So our approach is to provide these pieces that we've manufactured in our office that we have found effective because it's simple. And once we're able to do that, we find the engagement during the review process or a proactive approach with identifying their book and their clients that we can move the process along and we can start to have those conversations and the advisors feel comfortable that they have an experienced team behind them, but they're the ones that are actually initiating and starting those conversations.
Well, what are some of the examples of the more common client conversations that you are helping advisors have?
So the most common first is the very simple family protection. A lot of client base will be in that world that term insurance makes a lot of sense. Mortgages, kids going to college, there's a very compelling reason to do that. So we've provided a very easy platform for an advisor to, one, have the conversation, but also to conduct the business. So the insurance companies have manufactured an easier way now to do this in a paperless environment and to do it on the fly where the advisor doesn't have to disrupt his business practice too much to integrate a family protection conversation into the planning process. So one, just doing the term insurance, which is really easy during a planning or review process with the client. The second, depending on the age again, is long-term care planning, as I mentioned before. We see that it's a large focus because we have this demographic that's the fastest growing population in the United States right now that doesn't really and hasn't really planned for it. And from the insurance perspective, there are a lot of varieties of funding these type of liabilities out there right now. And we don't need to get into the product specific, but there have been some changes in the products that are available that make it a little bit more affordable and a little bit more flexible to fund that type of liability. The last area that I would say, and I feel it's an underserved piece of conversations that we're having, and we're working with the advisors to help bridge this conversation, is the exit planning or business planning. There are a lot of advisors that work with business owner clients on their personal business, but they don't work with them in their business. And for their clients, it's the passion of building their business that they really have this emotional connection to. And I think the advisor would benefit from his practice and just from a relationship perspective by starting to have some of these business type of conversations. What's your succession plan? Do you have a succession plan? Have you reviewed your cross-purchase or buy-sell agreements in the last 5 years? So those areas from the advisors that I work with are kind of front and center. And then there's a myriad of different things that come up from an asset allocation perspective, specifically on utilizing fixed annuities right now in a rising interest rate environment and a bull market and how we can potentially hedge that. But I think those are different conversations that aren't necessarily client-centric at the time. It's more asset allocation and portfolio discussions.
You mentioned the succession plan, and I have to say from my end of things that a lot of the regulators out there are highlighting advisors on having an accurate and well thought out succession plan just in case something bad happens for the future. So
yeah, and absolutely. And I think one of the key areas there, Colin, is that when I talk to an advisor about having succession plan conversations with his clients, he may be a business owner as well. And so I have the same conversation with him are you addressing these areas as a business owner? Are you thinking about your own succession planning? Are you structuring your business in the right way? So as business owners, we all manage that same liability. We all manage, are we looking at our business 5 years down the road? And as an advisor, not only for himself and his own business, if he's a business owner, he can see the relevance that would be an important conversation to have with his own clients. So we've put a lot of focus on helping drive a narrative that they don't need to necessarily be experts on business succession planning. They don't need to be experts on drafting and reviewing cross-purchase agreements. Those are the resources that we provide. We just need them to feel comfortable enough to ask their client, hey, have you thought about this? Because it's integrated into the overall financial plan. It's a part of it. And if we pretend that it's not, we do a disservice to the client and we're not helping address the fiduciary responsibilities that we all have with clients when we meet with them and talk to them about their retirement planning.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Making it more of it's definitely a holistic process that I think people, they realize it, but they're also very tough conversations to have. So I know not everybody wants to think about ending their business or anything like that. But yeah.
They absolutely are. And I think one of the areas, Megan, is that we sometimes try to make things too complex to sound smart. And my objective is to simplify it and speak in the client's language, just like I need to speak in the advisor's language. If we simplify, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get complex at some point and we're going to address and have the best in service class and do everything that's right. But having the conversation on a very basic and emotional level with a client is something that I think can be taught. I think it's something that you can learn. And our comprehensive client conversation approach is very much that. It's a real direct and normal conversation with supporting information and a team behind you to be able to address and manage the most complex issues that might come about.
So is that kind of how you go through the process of educating your advisors on how to go through this? Is it how do they have the conversations with their clients, or is there more to it?
It is. It's really what happens is with an advisor, we may start at a very high level. And I use the example of long-term care planning. We may ask them if they're comfortable asking their clients, do you have a long-term care plan? And our model is to some degree estimate what the client's going to say. They're going to say, it's too expensive, I'm too young, or I'm too old. And then based on those answers, we've prepared dialogue for the advisor to continue that conversation. If it's too expensive, do you know that there are 3 different options for potentially funding this with an insurance company that don't look exactly like it did 10 years ago? And once we educate the advisor on that process, we go as deep as they want to go. So sometimes the advisor might say, look, I'm very comfortable with just asking these 3 questions, but once I get into the client solution and all these products and all these riders and underwriting and the process and all that stuff, I don't want to go there. I want you to handle it from that point forward. Now, some advisors say, I want to know every single thing about every single product and every single variable that's out there and feed me all that information. So we've found having that approach of starting very high level and letting the advisor kind of determine where he's going to go. But the key for us and for the advisor, in my opinion, the client ultimately, is that at least he's engaging. We're just asking him to start by asking the question. Don't be afraid to ask the question, even if we don't have all the answers, we can just ask the question, and you've got people that can help you make sure that we're providing the right solutions.
Fantastic.
Matt, thank you for being here today. I want to thank you for joining us and for sharing your insight. I think this will cause some people to strike up some really important conversations and to dive deeper into the area of insurance and how it ties into their fiduciary duties, whether they're already in the insurance industry or if they've been avoiding it altogether. Things are definitely evolving in the space. It's truly been a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm sure you've caught the interest of our listeners.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Colin. And I'm very passionate about this, and I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, we'll have links to Matt's bio and the Blueprints website in our show notes so you can learn more about their services. We want to thank you all for joining us today and hope you join us next time on the RIA Compliance Collective. Until next time, we're here to get you there.
Thank you for listening to the RIA Compliance Collective. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you want to experience the RIA compliance concepts difference yourself, visit RIACC.io. From mock audits to customized compliance procedures, ongoing compliance assistance, and beyond. We're here for you always. Keep listening to discover more on how you can keep your advisory firm compliant so you can focus on achieving your goals. RIA Compliance Concepts. We're here to get you there.